Welcome back. We continue with our non-stop coverage on the several meetings that are underway in the national capital. Also, what's lined up next. In a few minutes, we're to hear from Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh. He will be inaugurating a BrahMos testing facility. So, whether or not he comes out with an important word as far as ongoing developments are concerned, watching out for that. Colonel Rohit Dev continues to stay on with us here in the studio. Colonel Dev, we've been discussing what explains Pakistan's notorious military attempts late last night. Ceasefire announced. Admission of the same by not just India and Pakistan. The United States, was quick to claim credit. It's been going ahead with a lot of posturing itself. But what explains this move by Pakistan? They're trying to pin it on India, solely on India. It almost is suggestive of the fact that this is an attempt to build that same old narrative that you were the ones to act, we were the ones to react, which is false.
Right. So what happened the last evening was that Pakistan is under tremendous pressure internally to prove something to its own people. And Munir is under a threat himself within the military, and he's not taken very keenly to by the Pakistani citizens anymore. And this declining political crisis in Pakistan, actually they wanted to continue, but they were wrapped on their knuckles and they were told to calm down. Now this entire barrage of firing, even 2 to 3 hours after the ceasefire was supposed to come in force, and they knew it very well, was conducted for expectation of a retaliation which generally happens along the LC at least. And they thought that they'll be able to capture those moments of Indian firing and then showcase us as the violator of this ceasefire. And that probably didn't happen at all. And that is why now they're in a current soup that how to reignite this, because while they may have claimed victory over a telecast media, but they have not actually done anything on ground for their people, because their air bases have been stuck. The fire is on their side, the smoke is on their side, and their people are seeing that smoke. So somehow or the other, in their media and everywhere else, it will crop. It will not be like Pulwama that you speak after so many years that we did it. It's going to be maybe tomorrow or day after they're going to talk about the destruction caused by the Indian armed forces. The second part I want to highlight is this ongoing meeting which is happening right now in LKM. The idea is to get a sort of a handle on what next, and it's May. It's peak infiltration time for Pakistani to send their terrorists across the border, to create more chaos, to get the OGWs coming into action, because 3-4 years they have been denuded of all kind of that fame that they are doing something for Kashmir. And now suddenly Munir has spoken about Kashmir, he has spoken about the religious part, how it dissects us from them, and it's gone into an attack into Pahalgam. They have to do Pahalgam plus or minus kind of activity throughout this season, otherwise they lose the coin in their own territory. So now when that's going to happen, and India has said that any act of war will be, any act of terrorism will be taken as act of war, now India has to decide that A happens, B happens, C happens, where is which threshold and what is going to be done. So I'm quite sure the Prime Minister has called the 3 chiefs, and you also earlier saw individual chiefs going to the Prime Minister for the first time. It has not happened. Earlier, even in the times of General Manekshaw, only Manekshaw used to speak to the Prime Minister. Now you have 3 chiefs going. The idea is when Parakram happened, we mobilized, we took our own time, we went through. I mean, I can also say we went in, but we also came back because of whatever the government said that time. But if you see Kargil is a test bed case of Indians' preparedness. So a lot of, Jasba and Josh went into it, a lot of sacrifice went into it. We did very well to thrash Pakistan, but we had 800 plus casualties. Why did that happen? Do you think that the Prime Minister at that time did not see how to ease tension on the northern front by opening the western and southern front? The answer is he did. But we were found woefully short of war fighting capabilities, owing to a very, very kind of lackadaisical political attitude, who also reduced our war wastage from 40 days to 15 days, and they blame it on their economy. How can a booming economy like India go back to those days and reduce your own WWR? Do you expect only to fire for 14 days? The answer is no. Then why should you hold more? The IOCL holds 120 days of reserve for fuel for Indian Navy, Air Force and Army. So I think that is where we need to see, and we need to see more of these politicians, more of these bureaucrats, and I will make a recommendation that at least at the core level and above war games when we have in the country, come and sit there to assess what's being planned, whether it's feasible, whether you can geopolitically interact with the country to get us those weapon parts and equipment, whether you can get the finance in for a skirmish, for a war, for whatever systems you want. I think a holistic approach needs to be developed, and that is why it is critical that the chiefs meet the Prime Minister to tell him what needs to be done. what action plans can be made, what is doable, what needs effort, what needs geopolitical handling, what needs finances. And I think that is where the entire slate after today's meeting will be drawn from LC to the area of Jaisalmer and looking towards the Ramir Khan place to see what next. And I am telling you, small mistakes by Pakistan in terms of doing a terrorist attack or even crossing the LC will get punitive action beyond a threshold it can imagine. And all this bogey about the envelope, you mentioned about the BrahMos missile.
Yeah.
Most certainly, it could have been launched against the Fatah missile that was coming in because are the supersonic, got a very good internal guidance and also terminal guidance that may have been used probably here in our own territory.
What they're trying to suggest is that this missile was fired late last night after the ceasefire. That's what they're attempting to suggest, and hence they're justifying their so-called retaliation.
It will come in the briefing.
Yeah.
And if they're talking about after the ceasefire being done, so even if, and it's a very hypothetical if, and I'm not making any claim to it, even if a BrahMos was fired, it would have been fired to some place from where the violations of ceasefire occurred last evening, primarily from Pakistan first. And you are at liberty. You are at liberty to hit at a radar system or anything else while you are doing it, because those radars and systems are guiding your drones into our territory, killing civilians. You launched a terror, so-called a scare or attack yesterday in a place near Pathankot. So I think it will get punitive action from us. So let's not be too naive and politically correct to say which system. You have chosen the path. We will choose the time, place, and the type and quantum of punitive action which we have to take against you. So I think that's very clear. So let's not get defensive. Even if the armed forces have fired a missile system into probably any place like Peshawar last night, who cares? Who cares?
Pakistan is rattled. They're rattled because some of their air bases have been taken.
So if you're rattled, what are you doing about it? Nothing, right? So I want to see Pakistan doing something, because all this,
US and seeking help.
all this Gidar Bhabki, I'm telling you, a nuclear attack is not so easy. You just heard the DRDO ex-chairman to talk about what is ballistic and what is cruise, right? A ballistic missile which takes off from Pakistan with nuclear warhead to come into India, 99.9% chances today are that we will strike it in the Pakistani territory itself. So I don't know what they're talking about, and it's not a loose cannon world where you can say something and get away.
Yeah.
You said all out war, where are you in preparedness? You said you will nuke, where are your nukes? You said you will do this, that, the other if India does. India has done what it wants. India actually has put you down by at least $7 billion in just 1.5 days. Where are you, Pakistan, to put that pressure on us? What have you hit? You have hit nothing. So you're going to revive your economy. You're going to now blame India and seek assistance to make up all these raw assets, air bases and weapon systems. You will get the cement for your air base, but you will not get the weapon system and ammunition which you now deserve or you want to from anywhere across the world, including Turkey.